Hello and welcome to yet another webinar from Human Synergistics. Today's topic is why remeasurement matters. So thank you for joining me. My name is John Van Etten. I again represent Human Synergistics, and we'll be talking about a few best practices for using Human Synergistics tools for development. And today we're specifically talking about the benefits and really the purpose of remeasuring with these instruments. Human Synergistics provides a variety of tools developed for individual development, for teams and groups, as well as instruments that we describe as being on the organizational level for the development primarily of organizational culture. So for the purposes of today's discussion, I'll be describing and sort of focusing primarily on the benefits at those organizational culture levels, but all five of the benefits that we'll be talking about today of remeasurement apply to really all of these levels. These also benefit teams and individuals and leaders as well. Good. So let's dive into the top five reasons that remeasurement matters and helps organizations and teams and individuals to stay on track and to help ensure that development takes place and does so successfully. So I guess the first reason that development matters is because that's really the purpose of these instruments. So there are all sorts of instruments out there in the world for a variety of purposes, but the purposes of these kinds of instruments is not only, of course, to measure organizational culture, for example, but to learn from that and to be able to then shape and guide the organization's culture in the direction that we want to move. So that sort of inherently means that we need not only an initial measurement to know sort of our starting point, but we should check in along the way to make sure that we're making progress and that change is happening. So the first real benefit of remeasuring in these kinds of development journeys is to, in my opinion, really to validate these interventions. This is one of the strongest benefits I especially find in terms of clients because leaders want to see that not only culture is moving in the right direction, but that we're seeing that pay off in real benefits to the organization. Again, along the lines of things like engagement, motivation, collaboration, customer orientation, and so on. So performance and well-being criteria. So checking in and seeing that as we make progress, we are seeing improvement in those kinds of performance criteria is tremendously helpful to ensure that we continue to reinvest our time and efforts in this direction, and we can justify these efforts and really show that they've paid off. And I have to say, this is also a large benefit to those people who are coaches or consultants who use human synergistics tools, is really by remeasuring, we can go back to our clients and demonstrate, again, really the return on investment for investing in this change. So demonstrating that is very important and is certainly the first benefit. The second is that remeasuring and checking in, sometimes we call these progress checks, are very, very helpful to make sure that teams and individuals stay engaged in this journey. On this slide, we've sort of have that snowball effect being depicted, and that's something we really try to achieve in organizations, and again, really within teams and individuals. We take those sort of small initial baby steps, if you will. We learn, we build, we grow, and we we need to stay on track to really get this rolling and create the change that we aspire to. So in any case, checking in is a wonderful way to keep this top of mind, to remind our people what this is all about, that this is important, to take time to check in to make sure change is happening and progress is being made. The third benefit to remeasurement is to check in and see not only whether, in the case of organizational culture, sort of the organization is on track, but whether there are any parts of that organization or unexpected patterns that maybe are popping up. These thankfully tend to be fairly rare, but you certainly can predict them, and they do take place when, as we're trying to develop more, for example, constructive culture, along the way, perhaps certain parts of the organization or during certain parts of that transition and change journey, we slip into maybe less constructive and more defensive patterns, particularly in specific parts of the organization. In any case, being able to measure that and make sure that not only the organization is on track, but we're all aligned and moving in the right direction is tremendously helpful. And to be able to do that as early on as possible is a strength as well. The fourth strength and benefits to remeasuring with these kinds of developmental tools is to reinforce the commitment and continuous improvement that we have thus far. This is to some extent like the snowball concept, but it really is the idea that in every step of this journey, we learn. That's true as individuals, it's true as teams, and it's certainly true as members of organizations as we develop and shape organizational culture. So if we can not only learn from every step of this journey, but thereby build upon it and create something even greater every step of the way, that is really the best practice for growth. And so often clients and consultants ask about how we can accelerate culture development, how we can improve more quickly. And a lot of it has to do with not only consistency, but these kinds of concepts, learning from what we have um, found so far, building upon those strengths and taking the next step forward. So that concept of continuous improvement, building the culture and mindset of continuous improvement is something that's tremendously supported by remeasurement. And this brings us to our final and fifth benefit or strength of remeasuring with these kinds of diagnostic tools, and that is to make sure really that we're staying on track and aligned for a long-term goal, that we have a direction in mind for our organization in terms of what are our values, what drives employee engagement and motivation here, and we commit to moving in a positive direction on those topics, take the right steps, and again, commit to that not only in the short term, but in the long term. And being able to measure and connect the dots along the way for organizations so that they can actually see how that development happens as they take those steps along the journey with that end goal clearly in mind is tremendously helpful. Organizations today, we all know, are dealing with a constant external environment of change and the need for constant adaptability. And in certain areas, values are, of course, a very good one. Ideal culture are things that we want to hold on to over time. Those are things that should help to guide our organization through a lot of those turbulent external environmental factors. So in any case, being able to have sort of that, I like to call it the true North Star in terms of where are we going with our culture? What do we need from our people moving forward? What is this organization in best cases all about? And being able to recognize that as a long-term goal that we can continuously work towards is truly, truly helpful to keep organizations on a positive track. Very nice. So this has been a little bit of shorter session than we typically do. I hope that's helpful. People are always interested in short content, so I wanted to focus on again top 5 benefits of remeasuring with diagnostic tools, specifically how those benefit in terms of culture development. But again, it doesn't take too much imagination to recognize how those sorts of benefits could also be helpful at individual and team levels. If you'd like to see how this is done in organizations in real case studies and examples, please have a look at some of these books, or please feel free to reach out to any Human Synergistics office around the world. I'll be very happy to help you. Thank you for the time today. I'll hang out for a few more moments just to see if there are any questions in the chat. Feel free to add those. Happy to discuss the topic of remeasurements and benefits. Of course, there are more than just those 5. And otherwise, again, this session will be recorded and posted on our website. So if you found it helpful or feel like you might in the future, please know that you can always find it there. Thank you again for the time.